Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christian, and welcome to CatechesisCraft, where we talk Christianity and play Minecraft. This is the 47th installment in a series of videos designed as a teaching tool with the goal of being applicable to all audiences, regardless of how much, how little, or what fashion of faith that you, my wonderful viewers, might have. Today, we will be discussing the second half of the Apostolic Fathers series, the Ante-Nicene Fathers and the Sub-Apostolic Age. Who are the major figures of the Ante-Nicene Fathers? What is known about the major works of their time? How do the events of the Ante-Nicene period affect the history of the Church? As I'm sure you can tell, we have a lot to get into, but first I'd like to reiterate the fact that this channel is not focused on Christian polemics. I'm not here to criticize you specifically, my wonderful viewers, for your type of Christianity, nor am I here to force any of you into believing exactly every single thing that I believe. I have faith that each of you watching this video is more than intelligent enough to tell the difference between objective analysis and subjective preferences, but of course, it does bear repeating. One final thing, if this or any of my previous work helps or entertains you in any way, please consider sharing this with someone who you know would benefit the most from it. Now, without further ado, let's discuss the Ante-Nicene Fathers, the heroes of the Sub-Apostolic Age. In about AD 165, Saint Justin Martyr, the first great apologist of the Apostolic Church, has written several major works, presented the strongest philosophical arguments for Christianity informed by the highest philosophical traditions of the time, and has recently delivered his works to Emperor Marcus Aurelius and the contemporary Roman Senate. Soon, he will be beheaded for the great crime of believing in Christ and his Apostolic Church. For more information on this, the first great apologist, please check out our video on the man. Beginning with St. Justin Martyr, we enter the second half of the Apostolic Age, often called the Sub-Apostolic Age by modern church historians. In the modern definition of the Apostolic Fathers, their ranks end with the deaths of Saints Ignatius of Antioch, Polycarp of Smyrna, and their students, as these figures were the last to have learned directly from the apostles themselves. However, as Catholic Answers makes clear in their encyclopedia article on the Apostolic Fathers, the definition can be stretched to include a very small number of writings after these figures. Quote, by extension of the term to comprise the extant extra-canonical literature of the Sub-Apostolic Age, it is made to include the Shepherd of Hermas, the meager fragments of the Expositions of the Discourses of the Lord by Papias. The period of time covered by these writings extends from the last 2 decades of the 1st century for the Didache, Clement, and probably Pseudo-Barnabas, through the first half of the 2nd century, the approximate chronology being Ignatius, Polycarp, Hermas in its present form, Papias. Last week we rounded out this slightly stretched canon of the primary Apostolic Fathers and their works with the story of Saint Papias, and today we continue with the secondary Apostolic Fathers, which we will be calling the Ante-Nicene Fathers for the rest of the series. Although we have already done a video on Saint Justin Martyr much earlier in our series on the Apostolic Fathers, he is generally the starting point for the Ante-Nicene Fathers, as we have already discussed. Beginning in approximately AD 150 to 165, the Ante-Nicene Fathers, as the name suggests, carries the bulk of the rest of the major Christian texts from the time of Emperor Marcus Aurelius to the days of Emperor Constantine and the Council of Nicaea. The Ante-Nicene Fathers are characterized as being historians, theologians, and apologists, building off the foundations set and revealed by their predecessors in the Apostolic Church. The major figures include St. Justin Martyr, whose 3 major texts are integral to understanding the celebration of the Eucharist in the Apostolic Church, St. Hegesippus, whose fragment tells us of the martyrdom of St. James the Just, the so-called brother of Christ, which is a term we will delve into detail on at a later date, St. Dionysius of Corinth, whose several Catholic epistles, as St. Eusebius puts it, were addressed to the church in Sparta, Athens, and others, refuting the Marcionites as Gnostic heretics once more. St. Irenaeus of Lyon, whose historical and theological texts are of utmost importance and considered authoritative sources for establishing continuity in doctrine and historical precedent within the Apostolic Church to this day. St. Theophilus of Antioch, whose 3 surviving works are directed towards challenging the nature and notion of the pagan gods in comparison to the one true God, the Church, and Christianity as the true inheritor of God's favor after Judaism. Furthermore, Maximus II of Jerusalem, whose text concerning the origin of evil, the nature of creation, and the lack of connection between matter and corruption, was invaluable to future Christian authors. We then have Saint Pantaenus, missionary to India and one of the most influential instructors at the Catechetical School in Alexandria, which is the first catechetical institution in the world, and perhaps founded by Saint Mark the Evangelist. Also ranked among these figures is his student Saint Clement of Alexandria, the first great Alexandrian theologian and likewise an instructor at the Catechetical Academy. Then we have Tertullian, whose extensive library of theological texts are deeply ingrained in the fabric of apostolic theology to this very day. Saint Serapion of Antioch, whose fragments continue the tradition of tearing down Montanist heresies. Saint Apollonius the Apologist, the most powerful and influential anti-Montanist of these figures in life, living as a Roman senator before being denounced by one of his slaves. This tradition was taken up by Caius in the following years, whose anti-Montanist fragments also remain. Finally, we arrive at the last 2 major Ante-Nicene Fathers, Saints Hippolytus of Rome and Origen of Antioch, both insurmountably instrumental theologians and scholars of the mid-3rd century. Together, this list of figures were instrumental in defeating the major heresies of their day, constructing the first layers of theology and apologetic texts, reaffirming the core doctrinal truths of their predecessors in the Apostolic Fathers, and preparing the road upon which the Council of Nicaea would travel during the first age of Christian legalization. Perhaps you lean into the more strict legalistic argument for the canon of Apostolic Fathers. Perhaps you include a larger canon of the Greek Fathers as inclusions. And perhaps you are simply here to learn about great figures and heroes of the Apostolic Church, no matter their place in canonical lists. Whichever you categorize yourself as, these figures, the Ante-Nicene Fathers, are invaluable instructors, heroes of the faith, and spiritual predecessors to all that the Apostolic Church would become in the 4th century and onwards. As we continue through our series on the Apostolic and Ante-Nicene Fathers, we will be walking through what can be known about the lives of these great heroes, their works, and their impact upon our theology and standard doctrines today. Welcome to the Sub-Apostolic Age. No matter what denomination or lack thereof that you ascribe to, I hope this rather short video has been educational and given you, my wonderful viewers, a primer on the Sub-Apostolic Age and a roadmap for the Ante-Nicene Fathers as we continue our series in the coming weeks. As always, I highly suggest that if you're interested in a deeper understanding of a specific denomination's doctrine, the best place to go will always be an actual pastor, priest, or well-lettered theologian in that tradition. I am merely a layman, doing the very best that I can with the gifts that God has given me, and hopefully illuminating the path along the way for all of you. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, if you have found it informative or educational in any way, please consider leaving a like, comment what you gained most from it, and of course share this or any previous work with those who you believe would benefit the most from it. If you're interested in more videos like this, good news! We have much more content well on its way, so please make sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications for future releases. This has been the 47th installment in what I pray will be a long and fruitful series, taking biblical topics and concepts large and small, and forming them into simple, digestible bites with some gameplay in the back because, well, let's face it, it's nice to have something on screen while you're learning. Leave a comment if you would like a certain topic to be covered, as I do read as many comments as I can on these videos, and it's always good to know what my audience wants to see. If you would like the opportunity for your questions to be read out in a video, please send your Q&A questions to our email CatechesisCraft@gmail.com. I will occasionally be posting Q&A videos where I answer directly the questions that you guys have about Christianity. There is absolutely nothing off the table, but I cannot necessarily guarantee that every single question will be answered in every single video. Even still, my goal is to make this an open resource of simple, straightforward, and clear answers that accurately represent the beliefs of Christians across time. If you would like to pick up a Bible for yourself, which, as I'm sure you can tell, is pretty central to our work here, please consider checking out our video on Bible translations and using the links below that video for your choice. Each product linked in the description utilizes Amazon affiliate links, and every single purchase using these links costs absolutely nothing extra for you, but provides us here at CatechesisCraft with a small percentage to help fund our work. You can also become a supporter on Locals for just $10 a month and get access to supplementary articles, blog posts, and at some point, live streams and access to a Minecraft server, both of which are coming soon in the biblical sense. But all of that is completely optional. I'm excited to be on this journey with all of you, and I'm extremely thankful for the fact that you chose to watch this video. I hope you all had a great rest of your day, whenever you happen to be watching this. God bless, and I'll see you all next time.